Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about the four portfolios of wealth management. But before we delve into the four portfolios, I want you to consider this concept that was introduced by finance professor Moshe Milevsky. He's the most written academic on personal finance in the world. And essentially, he suggests that we should treat our finances the way a corporation would. And what that means is we should be strategic with long-term vision and operating as U Inc. And the opportunity for that is to maximize and optimize our financial well-being. Professor Manevsky also suggests that you need to act as the CEO, chairman of the board, and even a CFO, chief financial officer, in order to maximize the value of U Inc. So to take on a CFO role, there's a number of things you're going to need to know. Those, things that fall on the four portfolios. So the first one, these four portfolios we're going to talk about is tax planning. So let's begin with tax planning. So to begin with the fundamentals, we're going to start with tax planning. To focus on tax planning, there are actually, 5 categories of tax minimization. And within those 5 categories, there are probably 40 different tax efficient strategies in total. But no one will ever be able to use all these strategies. But if we could implement 5 to 10 of these strategies, then you're more likely to put some money in your pockets and save that money as opposed to it going to the government. And obviously, more money means it's going to assist you with achieving your financial goals. Now, the objectives of tax planning is obviously to minimize tax and also to maximize income. Now, again, there are 5 categories of tax minimization, and we're going to go through each one. The first one is income deferral. And essentially, income deferral means that we defer having to declare income, or we declare having to pay taxes, which means your assets grow larger without immediate tax encumbrance, right? So that's the benefit of income deferral. And there are some popular ones you might know, obviously, are the RSPs, which later convert to a RIF, or your registered pension plans, things like that. The next strategy is income splitting. If we can split income down to a lower tax spouse, a child, or even a grandchild, we can reduce that overall family tax bill. And so there's an opportunity there where you could have the spouse who has a higher income. It could be strategic in how the money is being spent and how you pay off different bills. So what are some income splitting strategies? First one is you could lend money to your spouse or partner. That's one strategy that's often used. Another one is make contributions to a spousal RSP. That's also a popular one. Another strategy is maxing out your spousal TFSAs, right? You could also split pension income. That's another strategy. So, there are quite a few. Next, there's income spreading. So with income spreading, we want to avoid a large taxable income that we may incur in one year, and we spread those over potential multiple years. And there's certain strategies you could implement for that. For example, if you're going to get a severance, you could, ask that the severance be delayed. Or if you sold a property, there are ways for you to not incur all the capital gains at once, and to not incur all the taxes in that one year, and spread it out over several years. So those are some strategies there. Then we have tax sheltering. Now, you might be aware of certain tax shelters like limited partnerships, flow-through shares, which tend to be high risk and very often most profitable for the promoters rather than investors. Finance professor Juan Robinson suggests that you skip the prepackaged stuff and instead build your own by borrowing to invest in a portfolio that you can manage, and that gives you tax-efficient income and deductibility of loan interest. But again, that's not for everyone, but it might be something, depending on your situation, that you could implement. Essentially, if you're near the top marginal tax bracket and have experience managing the ups and downs of your markets, it may be for you. But the tax sheltering strategy that most people know about is TFSA, tax-free savings accounts, which, as the name suggests, is accounts which, uh, you know, have your savings slash or investments grow tax-free. And lastly, there's tax credit maximization, where you look at every single credit available to you now, but also planning for those that you could take in advance in the future, right? And there are a bunch of different strategies, and a lot of that gets implemented um, with the help of your financial advisor and your accountant. Okay, so what's the other portfolio for wealth management? The next, we're going to look at how we can optimize our asset and investment planning. Now, the goal for asset management is to diversify assets, but also to diversify strategies. So let's see what that looks like. So we have a short-term reserve, which essentially is called the emergency fund. The emergency fund is where we have at least 3 to 6 months of our savings put away in case of some type of emergency. And that's something that's supposed to be liquid and easily accessible, right? Then we have registered pension plans, and those are usually plans offered by government employees or company or corporate employees, even though what I've found is that they're not as popular as they once were. And that essentially is a contribution towards your retirement, which you can access once you retire. So those are, a different type of investment assets that you may have. Then we have RSP, Registered Retired Savings Plan, which essentially is, we spoke about just recently on the last slide, where you invest your money into this account, and what happens is your investment grows tax deferred, and you're not taxed until you take it out. And the goal of an RSP generally is to take advantage of an RSP, contribute to an RSP when you're you're earning, at a pretty decent, a higher marginal tax rate, and provides you with some form of a deduction. And the goal is to withdraw that money when you're in a lower tax rate. So essentially, you would have put away that money when you're higher tax rate, you withdraw it at a lower tax rate, and that should be the benefit. Hopefully, that's the benefit. Then we have a tax-free savings account, which you just spoke about also the last slide. With a TFSA, your money grows tax-free once you have invested in that account. Then you have a non-registered. Non-registered are accounts that are non-registered, as the name suggests, because it's not provided any type of benefit from a government perspective, and you're taxed annually on that amount. And lastly, you have RESP, Registered Education Savings Plan, RDSP, Registered Disability Savings Plan. I won't get into too much detail about those, but essentially ones provide you with benefits if you're contributing for your child or sibling, or could be, quite frankly, anyone's education. And then the RDSP is contribution for someone who has disabilities. So again, the big thing here is I think we're always familiar with not diversifying. We always hear about diversifying our assets. The typical don't put all your eggs in one basket. What we often don't hear though is diversifying strategies, right? And so with asset management, part of it is looking at these different investments for different reasons and diversifying using different strategies based on the person's situation. The other portfolio we're going to look at is a debt management portfolio. And we need to bring debt management into the picture so that we can manage all aspects of our personal finances and optimize our tax efficient strategies, right? Now, the objective of the debt management portfolio is to, where it makes sense, borrow to grow wealth or deduct carrying costs. Now, different types of debt, right? First one is bad debt. And essentially, that's any consumer debt that we carry that goes towards consumables, and we're paying interest charges with after-tax dollars, like credit cards, and consumer loans. That's the first one. Then we have good debt. Good debt is any debt that we carry that helps us to grow wealth, such as a mortgage or a principal residence or an RSP loan. Again, for each individual, it's going to be different. Your circumstances, it may make sense to take an RSP loan, it may not. Circumstances, it may make sense to take a mortgage or purchase a house at the right time. Again, but generally, this is the concept of good debt. Good debt is anything that we carry that helps us to grow wealth. And then the best debt of all is any debt that we carry that helps us to grow wealth and where the interest charges are deductible, such as student loans. No, student loans are quite controversial, but depending on your career, there are opportunities after you leave school, and those opportunities, based on your human capital, could provide you with a return on investment. Then there's also rental property and also business loans. And last one is you could also borrow to invest to create your own tax shelter, which we kind of mentioned before. Finally, in the last portfolio is risk management. So what's the objective? The objective is to protect your human capital and also to protect your financial capital. Specifically, we have to manage the risk that could negatively impact our human capital. And essentially that's our ability to earn. And for many of us, if we are employees, we know that if we get injured or hurt or harmed in any way, we're affected, our financial situation is affected, but not only us, our family and other individuals may be affected. So we also have to manage the risks that can negatively impact our mid or long-term assets. Basically, we need to understand the probability of the risk happening and also the potential size of the loss, right? So what are some of the risks? Premature death, which obviously can be covered with life insurance. There's disability, which obviously can be covered with disability insurance. Critical illness, also critical illness insurance. Healthcare costs, you could either put away a certain amount for healthcare costs annually, or you could get some type of a coverage. There's different liabilities like home, auto, professional liabilities. So to cover all that, so for professionals, it would be errors and omissions. And then there's also long-term care, which I know a lot of providers don't necessarily offer, but there are certain critical illness policies that provide for long-term care. So wherever possible, we want to manage these risks through our actions and build sufficient wealth to protect us from the impact of the risk. If necessary, we could look at different types of insurance, essentially. What it does is protect us where we can't protect ourselves, right? So when we put that all together, we have the 4 portfolios of wealth management. Covers, and essentially this is a holistic approach from a wealth management standpoint. Now let's revisit something we spoke about before. Professor Malevsky came up with a U-Inc concept. So while many of you are happy to take on the CEO and the chairman's position, the reality is a lot of people, you might be so busy with whatever you're doing that it may be hard to take on a chief financial officer role. You've probably known a few people who have tried and failed. So that's where a professional advisor may come in. So whereas we believe you absolutely should take on a CEO role of your Inc., what you want to have is a financial planner, someone, financial advisor who has the skill, the knowledge, and the wherewithal to do a good job as a personal chief financial officer. Beyond that, they have to operate as a conduit to all things financial, be able to answer all the different questions, implement the financial strategies that take care of whatever your situation is, and help you to achieve those financial goals. And if they can't be able to do it, what they'll be able to do is refer to the experts that they already have in place or that you may have in place, and essentially covering everything with a dollar sign, a true holistic approach. So beyond just the financial planner, what you're going to look at, for example, like a lawyer, depending on the situation, it might need wills and estate lawyers, family lawyer, immigration, insurance, tax law, employment. It all depends on your situation and what you're going through. If look at accounting, some of the things you're going to consider is your personal taxes, corporate taxes, bookkeeping, um, business consulting potentially. All these are opportunities. If you're looking for investment, then we look to a money manager, someone who has the investment portfolios, someone who's a fiduciary. For certain individuals, maybe looking for alternative investments, right? Insurance specialist, someone who knows the life insurance, disability insurance, long-term insurance, or for certain individuals, it may even be segregated funds because of the protection it provides. Um, and certain estate, certain opportunities it provides for folks with large estates. So essentially, you want to be the CEO, you want a CFO, and then that CFO is able to loop in and work as a team with other professionals, maybe lawyers, accountant, money manager, insurance specialist, and lastly, a lender, somebody who's helps with mortgages, lines of credit, leasing, credit cards, all that stuff, right? So that is the approach that makes the most sense. Now, if it got a dollar sign, if it has a dollar sign between it, dollar sign in front of it, that's where the personal CFO comes in place. It's where someone like myself would be able to assist you to put it all together or to get your answer, if not from myself, from a professional. And if you don't have this in place, this is what you want to look at. But where does this all start? How do you get this going? The first thing you want to do is you want to have a financial plan in place. Financial plan in place is the blueprint. If you don't have one in place, you definitely want to consider it, because that's where we get to establish the goals and look at the strategies to achieve them. And this personal CFO would be there to ask you the right questions, get the right information, and build out the right strategies to help you attain your goals. We put that all on paper, and then we map out financial success, pretty much like every corporation does when they do their business plans. Okay. Now, if you already have this in place, that's amazing for you. If you have not, I strongly consider you create a strategy around the 4 portfolios and around the CFO model. And if you have an advisor, then you want to speak with your advisor to get that done. If not, feel free to give me a call. My calendar link is in the below, so feel free to reach out and we can get that done. Hopefully this was helpful. This was the 4 portfolios of wealth management. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.